Precise job site accounting is literally one of the most important factors to driving a profitable and efficient business. Today, we're going to learn how. So, the power of job site accounting. When you think about job site accounting, you might not think about much because it's not a common term that most people use when it comes to not being in the field on a job, literally installing solar. So let's walk through what it means. At a high level, job site accounting is when you look at the cost of a job and you say, here's what the cost is going to be. And then you say, here's what the cost actually was. And you compare the two to see where you stand. And this sounds like a really, really simple process, but it's actually way more complex than it sounds. So if we take a step back and we just walk through a little experience that I'll share with you guys. When I ran my first solar installer in residential, even though I'm a distributor these days, I've also run the contracting world pieces, which has been fun. When I first walked into a residential installer that I was running, and we took a look at our profitability margins, and we had bought this company, we were taking it over, and we were revamping the company to make it go from not profitable to profitable. One of the first things we looked at was, do we have budgets at the job site level, and are we actually hitting the budgets? And the answer were, heck no, we don't have a budget at the job site level, and heck no, how could we hit something we don't have? So we instantaneously started writing out what the budget was and asking the supervisor for that job to write out what they expected that budget to be. And then we would compare it to what the actual was, and lo and behold, they didn't ever match up. The budget that we thought we were going to hit on each job after drive time, after labor, after the fact that somebody had to run out and get parts, were never the same as what was actually happening on the job. And so by having this process where we started looking at these jobs very, very specifically by actually speccing them early on and giving accountability to the supervisor and then seeing how he or she performed against that, we were able to have really hard conversations to get us very aligned on how to actually bring the cost down per job and how to get it in line so we could be profitable as a company. So there are a lot of best practices around this, but I'm just gonna go really, really simple because it's the easiest thing to do when you actually think about it. If you step back and before you walk into a job, and if you're a supervisor running the job, or even if you're just thinking about how to think about the profit and loss statement of a company and what you can do to help on a job, if you draw out what the budget of that job looks like piece by piece, the labor, the drive time that goes along with it, the actual pieces of equipment that you're gonna need, right? You just go down that list and you write it out. And then at the end of the project, i.e. that afternoon, you write out what it actually cost, what your actual drive time was, what your actual labor cost was, what your actual material usages were, where the other pieces that I'm not even mentioning went, and you compare the two, you're gonna know right away where the issues are, where you're leaking money or where you're gaining money. And so you can actually do job site accounting in the most basic sheet. Like it could be in Excel, it could be on a piece of paper, but the major thing is you're comparing the two, looking at them and figuring out why there's a big delta, and anybody can do this. Can you go on to Excel and use a fancy version? Can you use a software to do it? The answer is there's a lot of things that exist to help you here, but at the most basic level, instead of hesitating to get started with this, you can just start with a very, very simple piece of paper that the supervisor writes out or somebody writes out for them that they agree to, and then a very simple piece of paper at the end of the day of actual cost. You compare the two and you know exactly what's happening in the job site, and then you guys can all have conversations about what's happening, why didn't we hit the exact job, and how do we actually work with the different parties in our organization to optimize. And that's really powerful when you can help the business do that. It adds massive value and it makes you even more of a leader, and you can take that with you wherever you go. We talked about a few things on the power of job site accounting and what that means for profitability, but let's talk hard numbers. So in my experience, I've seen this equal 5 to 15% profit differences when it comes down to it. So you can literally on a job leak over, let's call it 10% of your total revenue in job site accounting costs if you're not careful. So imagine you can make 10% more by doing job site accounting if things are not going as well, or you can decide to make 10% less fly by the seat of your pants and run your business hoping that it's going to work out. And so I think the answer here is, how are you holding yourself and your team accountable to thinking about these big questions that drive profit for the business? And profit for the business isn't just profit for the business leader or the business owner. It makes the whole team more successful. There's more money to go around. There's more success because of it. If you're on the sales team and you buy leads, you can buy more leads. There's a lot of benefits to having more profit. But job site accounting, when it comes to profitability, you could literally be losing 10% of your revenue pretty easily by not doing the right job site accounting, and you can pick up 10% of your revenue pretty easily by doing proper job site accounting.